something followed us through the desert. People think crossing the border is only about fear. Fear of getting caught, fear of getting lost, or the fear of just simply dying out there. And those fears are real. But there's another kind of fear people don't talk about. The kind that belongs to the desert itself. The kind that waits out there long before you arrive. I made the crossing with my father. I was 22. He was already old enough that the journey should have been impossible for him. But he refused to let me go alone. He said if I was leaving home, then he would walk beside me as far as he could. We crossed late at night, quietly, covertly, moving through stretches of land that looked endless even in darkness. At first, the adrenaline carried us most of the way. The excitement, the panic, the feeling that every step forward mattered. But after the first day, the desert started taking things from us. Water disappeared quickly, food even faster. The heat during the day felt almost alive, like the air itself wanted you to be exhausted. And at night, everything changed. The temperature dropped hard, the wind became violent, the darkness stretched wider than anything I had ever seen. Our guide had left hours earlier. Said the rest of the way was pretty straightforward. Keep moving north, avoid roads, and stay low. Simple instructions, but nothing about the desert feels simple. By the second night, my father was struggling. His breathing had changed, heavy, uneven. Every few minutes he would stop walking and lean forward with his hands on his knees. I kept telling him we should rest, but he was terrified of Border Patrol finding us, so we just kept moving until the wind became too strong. Sand started cutting across the skin like tiny razor blades. The sky disappeared behind the dust. We finally stopped near a cluster of rocks and set up a tiny makeshift tent that we carried in the backpack. Barely enough room for both of us. The desert sounded different at night. Coyotes in the distance, strange birds, the constant shifting of the sand. At first, it almost became comforting because any sound at all felt better than the silence. Then we heard something else. Running. Not human footsteps. Not animal either. Heavy, fast, something so massive moving through the storm, circling. My father looked at me immediately and I already knew what he was thinking. Back home, people told stories. Stories you weren't supposed to laugh at in the desert. Nahuales. Things that weren't fully human anymore. Shapeshifters. People cursed into something hungry. As a kid, I thought they were just stories meant to scare children. But the sound outside that tent, it didn't feel like a story anymore. It kept moving around us, fast enough that I never stayed in one place for too long. Then the wind shifted, and I saw it, just for a second through the blowing sand. It was tall. It looked wrong. The body looked strange, like a deer stretched into the shape of a man. Long front legs bending awkwardly as it ran, its head jerking unnaturally. And the eyes, I still remember the eyes. They reflected light even though there wasn't any. My father whispered a prayer immediately. I told him we had to move. Right then, no waiting for morning, no resting. We grabbed what little we had and we started walking through the storm. The wind made it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. I kept turning to check on him, making sure he was still behind me. At one point, I heard the running again, closer, so close it sounded like something charging directly toward the sand at us. I turned around to yell at my father to hurry up, but he wasn't there. At first I thought the storm had hidden him, that he was just far behind that I couldn't see. Then I saw movement farther back. Something massive crouched low against the ground, moving violently, jerking, and then I realized the one thing I wished that I never had seen. It was eating. I saw my father's hat first, then part of his shirt, falling into the sand behind the thing while it fed. I remember hearing myself scream, not words, just panic. Pure panic. The creature lifted its head slightly, and for one horrible moment, I saw its face clearly. It almost looked human, not fully, but enough to understand that it was. Enough that it felt wrong in a way that I still can't describe. Its mouth hung open, too wide, blood running into the sand beneath it, and then it stood. I ran. I didn't think of anything. I just took off, and I didn't look back again. I just ran until my lungs were destroyed, until the storm had faded, until the sun started rising. And somehow, I survived. I made it across, into the promised land. Years passed after that. I worked quietly, kept my head down. I did everything carefully. Eventually, I built a life. I lived the American dream, got citizenship, started a business, a Western clothing store that did well enough for me to finally breathe again. People look at my life now and think it was worth the journey. Maybe they're right. But there isn't a single day I don't think about the desert, about my father, about what took him. I still dream about those eyes sometimes. I still hear those footsteps circling through the wind. And the thing that haunts me the most isn't that it killed him. It's that it chose him. And it didn't choose me. And even now, after all these years, I still don't understand why. And part of me is terrified that one day, I'll probably find out. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe for more weekly videos.